Welcome to the Hen House Podcast, where mothers rise together in authentic conversation and sacred connection. With your hosts, Chantal Breanne and Andrea Sjoberg. It's time to jump into the Hen House. Hey guys, so today I want to talk about attachment styles. That's the parenting style that I follow. And I've told a whole bunch of people like that I follow attachment parenting, and I always get super confused, super weird looks when I say that. And people don't realize that it's actually a parenting style. It's a parenting approach. And I get actually a lot of judgment. So that's kind of what I want to focus this on today for, education and just to keep the conversation going and to educate people on attachment parenting. I did my undergrad, I got my Bachelor of Social Work, but I did a double major in Family Social Sciences, which is basically the study of family systems. There was a whole course on attachment and how important childhood attachment is to your future, determining your ability to handle relationships in the future, determining your attachment style in relationships. And I know it's like become pretty popular topic on social media because people now know that, like, people talk about, avoidant, insecure, and I kind of want to dive a little bit deeper into that. So there's basically 4 attachment styles. There's the secure attachment, anxious attachment, avoidant dismissive attachment, and the disorganized or disoriented attachment style. And basically your attachment style is determined by your attachment with your primary caregiver in your first, I think it's like your first 7 years of life, but it might even be less. It might be 4. I can't remember. But yeah, and they can actually, like, they did studies where they would have separate parents, like mothers or the primary attachment figure from their toddler. I think where the toddler was like around 18 months, the mother would leave and they would observe how the child reacted in the mother's absence, as well as they would observe how the child reacted upon the mother's return. And depending on how the child acted, they could tell whether or not the child had a secure attachment, an anxious attachment, avoidant dismissive attachment, or disorganized, disoriented attachment. So, like, with a secure attachment, the child, like, upon reconciliation with the mother, like, was very open, like, embraced, was happy. And then it kind of goes downhill from there. Like, if the child has an anxious attachment, like, it's kind of like the child doesn't really like embrace the parent. It's kind of like unsure. And basically it all boils down to how responsive you are to your child. So because I had studied attachment styles so much in college, I knew that I wasn't interested in doing like sleep training because personally, I believe that sleep training can create these unhealthy attachment styles because, and this is not a knock on anyone who does sleep training, because I fully understand that some people don't have a choice. Some people have to go to work. Some people, you know, they need to sleep train for their sanity. But I think that I think that there is like a fine line. So I think there's a way to sleep train or a way to parent in a way that keeps attachment at the forefront. So for me personally, because attachment was so important, I decided not to sleep train at all. I knew that I wasn't going to be inconsistent in my parenting because I wanted my child to have a secure attachment. I knew that I wanted my child to feel that I was always responding to their needs, their emotions. I knew that if my child was crying, I was going to pick them up. I did co-sleeping, bed sharing, feeding on demand. All those things are things that kind of align with attachment parenting. And there's even like, if you want to get really into it, people, talk about the golden hour after the baby's born and, the eye gazing and how important that is in the first hour of life and how you're not supposed to look away from your infant, in those first early hours, because that's like where the beginning of attachment is forming. And there's been tons of research on this. And it's crazy because it's like people talk about it a lot. And, we talk about a society. And I think that when, people talk about how sick society is, I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that people are not treating the parent-child attachment as a sacred thing. And unfortunately, due to the way our society is orchestrated, people have to go back to work at like 6 weeks, which is absolutely crazy to me. I think that parents should be able to spend more time with their infants. I think the fact that the parent-child bond is so neglected in this society is a sickness, and it's the cause of a lot of issues in this society. Yeah, and that's a whole nother topic, but um, yeah, so basically, when every parent gets tired, and I had been doing the attachment parenting, but I mean, of course, like sometimes things happen, like you might be separated from your infant after birth due to, some sort of trauma. You might be under anesthesia. You might need help. And so I actually was separated from my daughter after birth, um, because of my medical issues that happened because of the birth. And I was put under anesthesia and so forth. Things happen. And I think it does affect it. Like, unfortunately, I think it does. And that's also part of my passion with being a doula, is trying to help preserve that early attachment, the skin to skin contact, the golden hour, the eye gazing, and all of those things. It's not always perfect. It'll never be perfect. Just like if somebody has to go back to work and they need to sleep train, it'll never be perfect. You can never be a perfect parent and give your child the perfect childhood and never make them feel insecure. But you can, if you try and keep attachment at the forefront, I believe that even just having that in mind will benefit your child. So there's things that you can do, like say you do need to be separated from your child. They've done research that if you are upon seeing your child again, like your face lights up, like you're excited to see them, you hug them, you embrace them. The times that you are with your child, sitting down, being present, looking into their eyes, not constantly being on your phone, like all these things help give your child cues that you're in tune with them and they can trust you, because the foundation of all of this is trust. And, having an anxious attachment style, it's like a lack of trust. Avoidant, same thing. These all come from lack of trust. And if a child's straight up neglected, that's definitely going to affect their attachment style. But I mean, there's a lot of things that can cause like an insecure attachment style, like even just being depressed, being a depressed mother because you're not responding to your infant's cues. So that's another reason why I'm super passionate about like mental health and postpartum, like perinatal mental health disorders, is because I believe so passionately that these things affect society, these things affect children, these things affect families. So yeah, being depressed, that can cause you to not be responsive to your baby, and it can end up affecting the attachment style. Of course, abuse, undue separation. So basically, All these things are super important, and we can do the best that we can to try and mitigate things that will damage attachment.